So again, Heat are back at it tomorrow night. They are in Toronto. We're going to talk to the television voice of the Heat, Eric Reed, later on this week. Looking forward to getting him to make his return/debut on ZASLOW Show 2.0. That's right. Monday Night Football last night. Good game. Monday Night Football last night. Washington, they're called the Commanders this year. They win 32-21. They were an 11-point dog. They win by 11. You had the, fumble Ruski nonsense. Throwing the ball over the field. On the last play, the pitching and the laterals, and the Commanders picked it up and, walked right into the end zone. So that was your ball game right there. They don't need to kick the extra point, 32-21. Commanders win. And most importantly, 50 years later, still no undefeated NFL team. No undefeated team. The Eagles, they lose last night for the first time this year. They are 8-1. They are still best. They are still number one in the NFC. But now, Minnesota, right there, also at 8-1. And I know what a lot of people are going to say, because they've been saying this, where the Eagles, they haven't played anybody. You can only play what's on your schedule. But the Eagles haven't played anyone. And now last night, at home, Monday Night Football, they lose to the Commanders. So the Eagles are going to get some criticism. I think it's probably deserved. But here's a couple things I want to hit on from the game last night. The officials were very involved. It's a 3-point game. It's in the fourth quarter, and you got, I guess it was Goddard. I think it was the tight end. Gets his face mask almost ripped off. Fumbles, ball gets poked out, fumbles. Commanders easily recover it. Almost was a touchdown, but he was actually down by contact. They wind up tacking on a field goal there, and look, it's an embarrassment for the officials because they got to go and review the play to see if he was down by contact. The guy who recovered the ball, so it's not a touchdown. They see that, and then they also see they missed such a blatant face mask. That's tough to swallow if you're an Eagles fan, where they're reviewing the play to make sure they get it right, but they're not actually allowed to get it right. You can't just tack on the penalty. I don't know if that's something you need to change. I don't know what you do about that. But that's tough, man. You use review, like what's one in replay? You use review to make sure you get it right, and you're not allowed to get it right. That's tough. But they get the field goal there. They wind up getting the ball back even one more time after that. It's 26-21. The Commanders now have the ball again because they forced the Eagles to punt it away. They had 3 timeouts over the 2-minute warning. The penalty actually loomed large because that then took it under the 2-minute warning. So you don't have 4 stoppages. You now have 3, and that was a big deal. So, it probably wouldn't have mattered, but I don't know, it felt like it did at the time. And on third down, like I said to my son, it was 3rd and 4. I was like, they're going to pass? I think they're going to run. And I don't know. Probably going to pass. But Heineke, and a very smart play, but he didn't force anything. He's so much better than Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, one of the worst starting quarterbacks I've ever seen. Not as bad as Mac Jones, but bad. And so Taylor Heineke, he knows, hey, I'm not going to force everything. I'm going to take this sack right here. I'm going to take it. Let that clock run. And he takes the sack. He kneels down, and Brandon Graham just charges right into him. You get such an easy call. I don't have a problem with the call. People, you can't call it. No, you can. I don't have a problem with that call. I got a problem with a couple things. You get the personal foul, game over. I got a problem with a couple things, though. Number one, Taylor Heineke he looked like such a nerd. And he's pumped up. It's Monday Night Football. He wants to be the starter. He should be the starter. But he came off such a huge nerd. You can't clinch the game because the other team committed a dumb penalty. You can't clinch the game because the other team committed a dumb penalty that is meant to protect you. When, in reality, nobody's getting hurt on that play, but the NFL they go above and beyond to try and protect the quarterback. They have extra rules to protect the quarterback. And when you win the game because the officials make the right call in trying to protect you, and that's how you win the game, you can't get up fist pumping, celebrating first down. Yeah, I thought Taylor Heineke looked like a huge nerd in that spot. He was excited. I get that, but I thought he looked terrible. He looked like a dunce. So the officials, very involved there. The second part of that play was, so Brandon Graham, his momentum carried him. He couldn't stop himself. No, he took about 4 steps. Go look at the replay. Took about 4 steps, dives into, did he hit him hard? No. But he took 4 steps, dove into him, pushes him down. And I'm saying to myself when it happened, I'm like, yeah, he wasn't trying to let up. I think he looks like he didn't know the rules. I'm not talking about didn't know the rules where you're not allowed to hit the quarterback when he gives himself up. I'm talking about he didn't know that the play's over when the quarterback gives himself up like that. Because it wasn't like he was running for a first down, he ran 5-6 yards, and he slid. Everybody knows you're giving yourself up there. But he just, fell down in the backfield there. And so first thing I was like, I don't think he looks like he knows the rule, that the play's over when he does that. And then my suspicion was confirmed. When after the game, the quote from Brandon Graham was just trying to touch him because it looked like he was going to get up. So what if he gets up? He gave himself up. Play's over when he does that. But he didn't know that. So, yeah, if he thinks he's trying to get up, so he's just trying to touch him, to touch him down, that's because he doesn't know the play's over. He thinks that he's still allowed to get up, which is crazy not to know that, but that confirms he didn't even know the rule. I got no problem with the officials making that call. It's a brutal way to end the game if you're an Eagles fan. All right, hey, we got my man Fred Siegel, Freezing Cold Takes. He's going to come up in a few minutes here, and we'll do some cold takes on Tua because a lot of things were said, all right? And this guy is quite possibly the front runner for the MVP, which brings us to this. So on First Take yesterday, Stephen A. Smith, the best in the business. Doesn't mean I have to like everything he does, but the best in the business. And Stephen A. Smith yesterday, so he's got Dan Orlovsky there, who's been on the Tua train all year. He has. And give this a listen here. Here's Dan Orlovsky and Stephen A. Smith. They're debating on whether or not Tua is the MVP this season.
There's no defensive coordinator that is not fearing playing against this offense, and it's because of Tua. He's playing as good as you can play, and it's him and Patrick Mahomes right now for MVP.
Well, for me, it's Mahomes. Because Mahomes, number one, let's call it what it is. This brother has been absolutely sensational. We got to give Tua a lot of credit. I'm not taking anything away. 18 touchdowns and 3 interceptions is what it is. Completing over 70% of his passes. It's been impressive, and I get all of that. But I will remind you, you can throw a 5-yard pass to Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle
Don't do
and
that.
they can take it to the house.
Don't do that.
I'm just saying it has happened this year. It's not like it hasn't happened. Yesterday they had a running game. Wilson ran for over 100-something yards. All right, they were running the football effectively. They ran for nearly 200 yards on the day against Cleveland. You're going up against Jacoby Brissett or whatever. Congratulations, you beat them. Nice job. At the end of the day, what it comes down to is this.
40.
Listen, I understand that. They were running the football effectively. You were distributing the ball to a lot of different receivers. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, to me, are a dynamic duo that should petrify defenses around the NFL. These brothers can catch a 5-yard pass and take it to the house. I'm not saying Tua can't throw the long ball because we know that he can do that.
Okay.
But I'm talking about those intermediate passes, what have you.
Sounds
Even though
like you are.
I've seen him do it. I've seen him do it effectively. He deserves a lot of credit. But I've also seen him dip and dunk to those brothers, and those guys take it to the house. These brothers are something special.
Okay, so where do we start? I think we start the most obvious. Now, first of all, I love that we talk Dolphins nationally every single day. They are a huge topic. Even if someone says something negative, even if someone's not giving them the credit that they deserve, I love it. We're a national team again. This is one of the best Dolphins years of my life. It really is. I'm 41 years old. I remember the really good years in the 90s when the Dolphins had the best winning percentage in all of sports. Not just the NFL. In all of sports, they had the best winning percentage. I mean, that flew out the window right quick in the early 2000s. But anyway, I remember the good times. And speaking of which, get to good times, hard times. This is as good a time as I can remember. I'm having so much fun. You're having so much fun. We're all having so much fun together. But let's start with what is so painfully obvious to everybody who hears that clip. Can we all agree that Stephen A. Smith has not watched a single Dolphins game this year? Right? We can all agree, right? he made it very clear that he has not watched a single Dolphins game this year. Now, I told you, I've talked about this before. I remember games, playoff games. I mean, Stephen A. Smith will sit in the media room and he just walks out with a box score. He looks at it, goes on television. Like, he's not watching all the games. And he's making it really clear here. He has not watched the Dolphins at all. You know, listen, sometimes when he talks about a game that he didn't see, he just names the big players. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Tua. All right, everybody knows who those guys are. You know, he didn't mention Trent Sherfield. He didn't mention Alec Ingold. He didn't mention Jeff Wilson. You know, he throws out the easiest stat. Tua, 18 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. All right, what does that mean? He doesn't know what it means. He hasn't watched a single Dolphin game. You know, talking about Tua throwing to wide open receivers, and one of the things we love the most about what Tua's doing, he's fitting it into the tightest spots. How about that throw yesterday with Emmanuel Acho, by the way, tweeted out video of it. How about that throw on Sunday to, I think it was Tyreek Hill, where if it's an inch off, it's a pick six. It was such a, over the shoulder to the sideline. Such a perfect throw. He puts these balls into the most perfect spots. He is not throwing to wide open receivers. Not all the time. And the whole Hill and Waddle catch 5-yard passes and take it to the house, that hasn't happened one time this year. Not once. And Dinkin and Duncan, do you know who leads the NFL in yards per pass this year? Take a guess. I'll give you a second to think about it. You know who leads the NFL in yards per pass this year? Tua. For all the Dinkin and Duncan, Tua leads the NFL in yards per pass. Look, Stephen A. Smith is the best there is. He hasn't watched a single Dolphin game this year. Very, very obvious. Not a single